Maybe I'll go like this. Sorry. Welcome back to another episode of DTF Garage. My name's Brad, and again, we are working on Project XR2 SuperCoupe. Today, we are focusing on the RS braking system for the front and rear of the vehicle. I know I've showed the front brakes being on the vehicle in a couple of my previous videos, but today we're actually going to talk about it, and we're going to get the rear brakes installed as well. Doing the front RS brakes on the Mk3 suspension is really easy. It's bolt-on, there's nothing you have to do. There's no modification. All you need are the RS brake calipers and the rotors and pads and everything to go with it. I use the RS brake calipers from Ford that are powder coated in the nitrous blue. More grabber blue since the calipers don't actually have the metallic flake in them. And then I got the Power Stop Track Day kit, which came with the front rotors as well as the Track Day brake pads. They were actually really awesome and sent me 2 sets of pads, so I have a spare. So as long as when these wear out, the rotors aren't too bad, I can just slap another pair of pads on there. For the rear brakes, there's a little bit more involved than just slapping the bigger rotors and the calipers and caliper bracket onto the Mk3 suspension, so we're going to dive into that. So I got the Focus RS hub and rotor bolted onto the Volvo S40 rear trailing arm that I'm using here. Aside from a few minor differences that really don't matter that much, especially for my application, they're virtually identical to the Mk3 rear trailing arms. I went to put the rear caliper on, and with it fully seated on the rotor, the bracket is not long enough to actually come down to the rear trailing arm mounting points. So when I looked into it, I realized that these 2 mounting points are different on the RS knuckle, and they come out further to work with that bracket. Now, getting a whole new pair of RS rear trailing arms is about $800, and I really didn't care that much. So I found a bracket off of, this was used on the Transit and Escape. I thought that would work, and I put that on here. But unfortunately, this was actually too long to the point where the pads would only be half on the rotor. There is a Mazda caliper bracket that will work. It's off of a Mazda 5, that kind of minivan looking thing. And you can get those, but I wanted a simpler solution than having to pay again for these Mazda brackets and then get them powder coated the same blue and worry about them being the same, actually being the same color and matching. So I realized the solution after doing a lot of research and trying to figure out if I could get something to work with this. I even thought about making another bracket that bracket would attach to and then attach to the trailing arm here. When I realized it was going to be simpler to just put on a regular Mk3 Focus rotor. It's the same from SE to the ST to the titanium Focus. It's about a ½ inch shorter, which is all I need to get that bracket to work, and it's really not much of a difference. It is a little smaller than the RS rotor, but not much for me to justify making a whole new bracket system and getting new brackets and everything for this to work. This brake system is already overkill for a 2000 Focus that weighs 2,600 pounds, so I figured I may as well just go with the regular sized rotors. I can use the powder coated blue RS calipers and brackets, bolt them up to this, and everything will just come together, and I lose overall about an inch of rotor. But again, on this car, it's not going to make that much of a difference. here is a comparison with the regular Focus rotor sitting directly on top of the Focus RS rotor. So you can see it's about a ½ inch, maybe even less, on both sides. So really not losing that much rotor by going down to the stock Focus rotors over the RS rotor. It's still bigger than any rotor that ever came on a Mk1 Focus. So thanks for tuning in. And now that I actually have the rotors and calipers and everything installed on the trailing arm, once I get that Volvo rear end with the Explorer differential bolted up into the back of the car, I can get the rest of the trailing arms and suspension and everything on. The nice thing is that they really didn't change much about the brake lines and everything, so the RS brake lines will bolt up right to the factory steel lines of the Mk1 Focus, so you don't really have to do much changing there. For our next video, we really should be actually getting the differential and rear end in this car. It's just been really cold, and so I haven't had time to actually get to that. I've been working on a bunch of other side projects in the meantime, so hopefully for our next video we'll get that all bolted up and ready to go. Thanks again for watching DTF Garage, and as always, stay boosted.